You will be learning about what Karma wants to do in a match and how we can use that knowledge to pick our runes. In lane, Karma wants to be a lane bully and later on shift into an enchanter playstyle instead. 3 key abilities that Karma has that makes her want to use that playstyle is because her Q is for poke in lane, her RQ for more pain in the bot lane, her E is for peel, and her RE is to shield her entire team. With that in mind, let's cover the default runes that I take on Karma and the variations that I take depending on the game. I start out in the sorcery tree and take Summon Aerie because the rune helps Karma do what she exactly wants to do in the game. It slightly increases her poke damage and her shielding power. Early on, Summon Aerie will be used to deal damage, and later on it will be more often used to protect allies. I would consider Arcane Comet if I feel that I'll be unable to hit the enemies as often as I could with Aerie. Nimbus Cloak because it helps me escape sticky situations or continue to stick on enemies with the bonus movement speed I gain when I use a summoner spell. I have used Mana Flow Band in the past, but I realized that I don't often run out of mana on Karma in laning phase because of her massive mana regen combined with Spell Thief's Edge's mana regen boost. I take Transcendence just in case I don't end up winning laning phase. I'll be able to still continue scaling into mid game with the free ability haste it gives at level 5 and 8. I can't really tell if the cooldown shaved off after takedowns at level 11 is impactful, but at least I know the free ability haste is. The alternative is Absolute Focus, so I can get more and more AP per level. I wouldn't take this rune if the enemy bot lane is heavy poke because they'll just whittle me down, not allowing me to use the rune properly. If you feel that you're either high HP or dead during the laning phase, then it would make more sense to get this rune. Now, in the bottom row, the only rune we should be taking is Scorch because it increases her early game poke damage by a bit. For the default secondary runes, I skip the first row because there are much more useful options in the other 2 rows. Hextech Flash doesn't benefit Karma much. She doesn't have a good catch ability, but at least her W is point and click. If I take Magical Footwear, I wouldn't have Ionian Boots for most of the early game. Ionian Boots' ability haste allows Karma to use her spells for poke and peeling more often. Perfect Timing is one I'd consider to use for diving or baiting enemies than Zhonya's. In the second row, I take Futures Market because they'll have a slight item lead or be able to complete a full item with this rune and Power Spike more earlier. The reason behind this rune is because, for example, if I were 100 gold short, I would go into debt and then buy the item on my current back, instead of buying that item on the next back. As long as you spend more than 50 gold, you're profiting from this rune. The other alternative is getting Biscuit Delivery, if I'm versing a heavy poke lane to survive through the laning phase. Cosmic Insight is the last rune I'll take because being able to have my summoner spells off cooldown sooner means I'll be able to make plays more often or have flash shot ready to escape a bad circumstance. It works well with Nimbus Cloak as I get to use Nimbus Cloak more often with the reduced summoner spell cooldown. I noticed on some websites that Time Warp Tonic is taken. I think it's for the 2v2 early bot lane stuff. I haven't used this on Karma yet. Have you guys used it, and if you did, how does it feel? If I'm versing heavy engage such as Alistair Draven or Cimmeria, I'd consider going primary into the Resolve tree and take Guardian instead, purely because it helps to reduce the enemy's initial high burst if my ADC gets caught, or if I get caught and an ally is nearby, we both gain a shield. Aerie cannot shield its user, and if you're shielding an ally, the shield strength is not as strong as Guardian's. In the second row, I take Font of Life because the mark can be easily applied through Karma's Q, granting allies a bit of healing whenever they auto-attack the marked enemy. Shield Bash is a bad rune when you're playing Karma support. I've tried it before and I don't like it much because I don't gain much value from it. Whenever I would constantly be shielding myself is when I'm running from base to a different location. And even then I wouldn't be able to use the resistances and damage it gives me. If you're playing top lane Karma or mid lane Karma, you'd be more likely to consider to take Shield Bash because you're shielding yourself more often and it would make more use of the rune. In the next row, when facing heavy engage, absolutely take Bone Plating to reduce the enemy's initial burst, but make sure you do not allow it to be popped before you get caught. When versing heavy poke, take Second Wind instead, because the enemy's chip damage will be constantly activating Second Wind. Lastly, take Revitalize to improve your shielding power and healing power. The other options are situational, but Revitalize directly improves her E-shielding, and that's something that we want. Now, into the Domination tree. In the past, I used to take Arcane Comet and Domination for a heavy early game focused rune setup to get as much of an advantage in the early game as possible. But now I don't because it really sucks if I don't get ahead. Anyway, Taste of Blood for creating a larger health advantage on your enemy. Cheap Shot if you're thinking that in lane or during your roams you'll be activating the damage often, for example Q for the slow and then Auto for the damage activation. Okay, everything in the second row is good. I like to take Zombie Ward because in my games I find a lot of enemy wards when I sweep. However, Ghost Poro if in your games you don't feel like the enemies are warding much. If you place your wards on the enemy jungler's camps or the jungler's ganking paths, it will annoy the hell out of them, and then you also spot them as well for 6 seconds. Take Eyeball Collection if you feel that in your game there will be a lot of takedowns in the early to mid game. For example, you're laning with a Draven or another long range ADC like Caitlyn, Jhin, or Ezreal against champions that you can outrange with your poke like Nami, Sona, or Kai'Sa, and possibly snag some kills. In the last row, everything is good except Ravenous Hunter. The healing has become so poo-poo and Ravenous Hunter on Karma support doesn't sound good either. Ingenious Hunter to have your item cooldowns lowered, including your wards and sweeping lands. Relentless Hunter if you're thinking that in this lane there won't be much kills going on, and Ultimate Hunter for the reduced ult cooldown. If I were to pick between Ultimate Hunter and Ingenious Hunter, I'm more likely to take Ingenious Hunter because of the shortened ward, sweeping lands, and battle song active cooldown. Yes, I like Shurelya's a lot. Ingenious Hunter feels more impactful than a shortened ult cooldown on Karma because you're already building ability haste, your damage abilities reduce your ult cooldown by 5 seconds, and adding more ability haste on top of your ultimate is overkill. And the fact that the more ability haste you have, the less and less effective it becomes. For the Precision Tree, I take Presence of Mind if I was playing Karma in an ARAM, and that's about it. The Precision Tree doesn't really suit Karma that much. If you didn't understand something I tried to explain, questions or feedback, comment down below and I'll keep my eyes on it when I get notified. I also have a playlist of my previous Karma guides if you want to watch. My name's Tyron Berndorf and I make support role related content. Here's a random video that you might like. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.